Hi guys, Michelle here. Today we're going to talk about how to edit or add buttons to the touchscreen, like the touchscreen display. So to do that, you're going to go to Setup, Point of Sale, and there's a button called Touchscreen Codes, and you're going to click that. If you tab over here, you're going to find the only one Garden WD. It says main touchscreen. This is the only touchscreen button that we currently have. It doesn't mean that we might not have more of these in the future relative to different seasons, but right now this is the only one, and you are going to click button editor to open that up. But just to case in point, you cannot be in the touchscreen yourself while you try to make changes to the buttons. So close out of that and then go into button editor. This here is the layout. This is like your operating system of how you're trying to, where you're gonna, make all your changes. Everything that's on this general button here, don't touch. I encourage you to, if you accidentally touch something in here, let's say I did this, I would hit close, and when this gives you an option to save or back out, and are you sure you want to cancel your edits? Yes. Back out and don't save to make sure that you didn't screw something up. um, so now when you come back in here, it's back to whatever it was. So when you're trying to make changes to the buttons, it's going to be in this buttons tab. Layout will give you, more or less info on this position, totals. Don't touch any of these. More or less, the only thing you're making edits on is the buttons. So when you're in here, if you see when I click over here on the enter sales rep, it more or less gives me little cursors around this, so I know that that's the button that I'm selected, that I've highlighted on. This is the main page that I've set up so that this is the start of everything. So in order to get to somewhere else that you want to make changes to, you have to hit this little green arrow to get to the next page. So the buttons, I guess let me give you some background. These buttons are all relative to different pages. If you see here, there's a drop down of pages of all this stuff here. Anything that you see that's in capitals is something that I've created. If it's not in capitals, like this credit card manual entry, that was like a pre-existing thing from, that was set up, that's part of the pay page. Those are all stuff that I haven't created. But again, if at any point somebody besides me is doing this, I've been told not to delete any page that you don't use, because you never know when you might use it at some point. And don't delete like blank pages, I guess. Okay, so sales rep enter. There's a default, and then there's allow item entry. This will give you an option to, if you want the window box here for item entry, that's an option. That's what that means. You can rename, you can copy page, new page, delete page. Actions means what a button is doing. The caption is what it actually says here. And then the hint is the little bubble that shows up, the enter sales rep that just showed up there. That's what the hint is. So if I hover over this, the hint is that bubble. Shortcut, like if you wanted to give something like an F2 shortcut, the color of the button, that's the purple. The font is the default, and I'll show you how to change that in a minute. The page action means whatever we're doing, if we're doing something relative to the pages. And then the go-to page is the name. So this one here, where when you actually use this, it ends up going to the main page. So I'm going to hit that green button, and that's my toggle back and forth to whatever I was doing. So let's see. So we're about to add some more products. So under fall products, if I want to go into that page, I would hit this green forward button. And then now we're down to the item level. So if I were actually in touchscreen, if I clicked this button, it would add this item number at this quantity. Same for all of these. So more or less, if I wanted to create a new button, or if I wanted to edit this button, like I did this wrong, and it's when you actually hit this button in the touchscreen, it's coming up as the 6-inch mom. Let's pretend. It's because I would go in here and the 6-inch mom would be selected, not the 9-inch. And I would make this change here to make sure that when I'm clicked on this item, that the 9-inch mom is what's coming up right there, and that's what's going to come up. If you wanted to change the description, let's say at some point you wanted to put a price in here that it's actually $7.99, I could tab through that and then hit this preview button, and it'll automatically show up $7.99 that I just made that change. The hint, like I said, that's what hovers. I don't necessarily update this all the time because it's not really that important. Most people aren't using it that way. So I don't do a bunch there. And then the default quantity, again, most of our stuff is always 1. So that's generally 1 for pretty much everything. Pause at quantity, you're really not going to do that because it's like the bulk stuff where it would pause and be like, how many do you want to put in? It's just quicker if you leave that off. Okay, so let's say I wanted to add a new button for something. So I would pick any of these gray open boxes down here. And everything that you do for adding an item is always easier when you use the copy to. So I'm going to click on this Hearty Mum pot, and then I'm going to hit copy over here, and I'm going to paste it in this box here, and then I'm going to hit paste, and now I have a duplicate of my 6-inch Hearty Mum. So if I wanted to change that to, we'll show you, I think I've already got all my stuff in here that I need, but let's say there's like a pumpkin. Say I wanted to add the pumpkin planter to this, make a button for that. I would click on the item to make sure that that's the item that is going to get loaded. I'm going to change it to say my caption is pumpkin planter. And then same thing here. We'll just copy and paste our hint in there. And then let's do a preview, and it's automatically going to switch. So let's say if I needed this to be pumpkin planters, and now all of a sudden it doesn't fit. You've got 2 options. You can start abbreviating and get rid of the S, or you can change the default font. You can click this little 3 dots that was there. All of the stuff that we do is in Tahoma bold, and I think our default is the 10, and it's also white. So that's our default. So if you hit default, that's what you get. But if you wanted to somehow make this smaller, you would do the Tahoma bold white, and you would do 8 and hit apply. And now if you watch it, it made it smaller. So now I get 1 extra letter to fit. Sometimes it's important and I make it smaller, sometimes it's not, and I leave it alone. You can see the difference here between this guy is the default font, this guy I made smaller to make sure that it fit. So it's totally up to you, and then you can say okay. So again, if I want to, right now it's giving me a specific font. If I want to hit my default font again, I could just hit default preview and it gives that back to me. Okay, so we'll hit that out, preview. If I wanted to change the color, I'm going to hit my color, and then I could pick, they give us whatever, 20 default ones here. Do preview and do that. You can see the change, or you can hit other and then pick, whatever on your grid that you want. Say okay, preview. There you go. So pretending that that's the only one item that I've added to this, I could close out of here, hit save, and now when I go log in into my touchscreen, that item, that button should be there. So the other thing to keep in mind, if you're somehow making changes and I'm not, somebody besides me is doing this, in order for, let's say Lauren made this change at her desk on her computer. If registers 1, 2, and 3 all have touchscreen open, they're not going to see this change until you get out of the touchscreen and go back in. Not out of Counterpoint. You can still be in Counterpoint, but you have to close your touchscreen and open it back up to see the change that was made. So now if I click this button, Pumpkin Planner, it's going to add my $9.99 Pumpkin Planner to the order. So pretty easy, simple thing when you're just doing the one, adding one item. It's not too hard. So there's how you do that. I will do a new video to show you how to do pages.